Thank you so much, our viewers. We appreciate you as usual, and we pray for good health for you, because without you, then this channel is not there. Thank you so much for subscribing, for liking, commenting, and also sharing with your friends. And I want you to pay in-depth attention to what we are about to discuss here, because I'm sure that where we are heading as a world, the globe, we need to be unified. Now today I want us to look at the position of Kenya in Africa and beyond Africa. And I have my good friend here, James. Bwana James, karibu sana.
Asante.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Na I'm happy to see you.
Yes, thank you.
How is it going?
We are doing well. We can't complain. Yeah.
And I've seen there has been a lot of activities. It's been a flood of activities in Kenya.
Sure.
And some people saying yes, others saying no. What's your opinion? What's your take?
Personally, I think a lot of things that are happening, they are positive.
Okay.
I think, to me, when we reflect on the past 1 week, any African country, and not only Africa, actually in the global south, would wish to enjoy the kind of limelight that Kenya has enjoyed. And this has come in the backdrop of the World Safari Rally that took place in Naivasha. And so for the last 3 months or so, Kenya has enjoyed free marketing, if you may call it. This is also the season when one of our own, Sawe, ran the marathon under 2, breaking the record and doing what no human being has achieved.
Wonderful.
So when you look at all that, the World Safari Rally, it was a classic rally watched by hundreds of millions of people globally. Then you come to Sawe breaking the record, again watched by the world, Kenya on top of the world, and now you have the Africa Forward Summit, the world again coming to Kenya. And to add icing on the cake, we have the Secretary General of the United Nations in Kenya to launch a huge project that is going to put the UN Kenyan office at par with the one in Geneva, in New York, and Vienna. I think we have enjoyed unparalleled attention, global attention.
You know, somebody said that Kenya is the capital of Africa. You're almost making me believe that. But that's subject to discussion. Yeah. I saw Macron on the streets. He was jogging with our very best Kipchoge.
Now you see, Nairobi, they call it the city in the sun. You could see them enjoying, the breeze of Nairobi.
Sure.
And remember again, Kenya is the only capital city in the world that is adjacent to a national park. So you have the French president jogging with other dignitaries and enjoying Nairobi. And again, these images are being broadcast globally. What that means for Kenya is that we are showcasing who we are.
Wonderful.
Kenya are the center of global attention.
We had our own James Mwangi.
Yes, our own.
He was Sako kwa Bako, if we may say, with Dangote.
Yes.
And Equity is becoming a global brand now.
These are big boys. I think the model of Equity has made that bank grow beyond just a banking institution.
Sure.
It is a brand. It is an African brand. It has been voted the best, I think, lender, for MSMEs in Africa several times. And so James Mwangi is not just the CEO of Equity Bank. He is among the select club of big boys.
We appreciate.
He falls in the class of Aliko Dangote.
We really appreciate him for the great work he's doing.
Yes.
Not forgetting M-Pesa is Kenyan born.
M-Pesa was born here. And so Kenya again becoming a serious participant, or rather innovator in the digital finance.
Sure.
And actually today there are countries that have copied our model, our innovation. And we were ahead of big nations like the US and Europe. We started doing digital transactions. We are ahead of those countries. And so paperless transactions have their home in Africa.
Paperless, as you said, there was a time, if I don't remember the exact time it was, there was a certain proceeding in a Senate, don't know whether it was in the US or UK, where they were saying, we need to send a delegate into Kenya to go and see. We are hearing that people are sending money online,
You know, digital financial penetration has improved accessibility of money, flow of money, so that, and actually the cost of transactions, because where you would have to travel from one city to another to go and make a payment, then you are doing it at the comfort of your phone. Today we have even certain programs, national programs, for inclusivity programs, social programs, where money is transferred directly to the beneficiaries without having the interfaces that would be there and causing a lot of other expenses and corruption. Today, for example, the benefits for the retirees, the elderly, they are sent directly to their phones.
Wow.
The Nyota program, you saw the president launching, money is sent directly to the beneficiary. So the middle people, the middlemen who would come and make some money out of that. So these are models that other African countries and even Western countries, they come to study here in Kenya.
Wonderful.
No wonder then Safaricom is one of the biggest brands in Africa.
And those days, even elderly people will get their pension, and then because you go look for it and you don't know how to read, then you go to look for somebody to take you to the bank, go look for money. In the process you lose a lot
of money.
But today you are telling me money just finds you into your house where you are seated in your phone. That's a good discovery.
These are transformational things that, and I think we need to tell our narrative more. Because we will not wait for the whites, other people to come and tell our story. We all know how transformational M-Pesa is, because again, those days, one had to travel to the next bank. Remember, those banks were in the bigger towns, so someone would travel 100 kilometers to go to do a transaction. So you spend, if you are going for 2,000, you spend maybe 1,000 or 800 or 600 going to get 2,000.
I'm telling you.
Now today you get it at the comfort of your house, and I think, to me, and you can see what has happened. Then you're using the same platform to pay for your bills, electricity bills. You can pay for your medication. You can do your shopping. You can pay for your fare. So that now the world is in your hands.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And on the same base, we are looking at, let's talk about the SGR and the penetration to the rest of the African countries. And the government is having a program of extending the SGR into the western part of Kenya, which I'm sure after that we are talking about Uganda, Rwanda, Congo. How will that impact economies in Kenya and mostly, and then the rest of the African countries? I think
before we come to Kenya, we need to look at Africa as a whole. I think the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga, when he was the High Representative for Infrastructure at the AU Commission, they tried to come up with an integrated roadmap that then would cover comprehensively infrastructure across Africa that would then enhance intra-trade, mobility of goods and people, goods and services, and also be able to propel the economies of our African continent. Now, that probably the AU has been a bit lazy. I have not heard the current chairman talking about these things. I have not seen much movement alongside doing African infrastructural projects. We have, for example, the Great Northern Road that is expected to come from South Africa all the way. And this is the one that comes and joins with the Mombasa Road all the way, joining Thika Road, and then to Garissa to Ethiopia, was supposed to move that way to Ethiopia, and then to Cairo. Now, that kind of infrastructure is transformative in terms of the resources we have, and then being able to scale up, you know, whether it is value addition, and of course improve the intra-trade. The Africa's intra-trade is roughly like I think 12%, whereas in Europe, for example, the European Union, the intra-trade is in the 70% plus. So Africa is trading more with Europe and Asia, China, than within itself.
That's not supposed to be so.
It is something that is affecting us, because then we have to use foreign currency, you know, to trade with Europe, the dollar. But if we could trade amongst ourselves, we can use our local currency.
Oh, sure.
So then we go for a more exploitative kind of arrangement instead of one that benefits Africa. Now, coming to Kenya, you talked about the SGR. Uhuru regime, they did the SGR. Of course, it was in the Vision 2030, that is Kibaki's time. But now the actualization began with the Uhuru. Although the arguments about the costing, initially it was meant to be 250 billion, according to Jimmy Wanjigi. But then it was stopped, and again Uhuru brought it back at 480 or so billion. Some people say up to 500 billion.
And I'm told what was then projected was electric train.
It was meant to be electric.
And an electric train, as I understand, is more advanced than SGR.
Yeah, it would have been an SGR, but electric. Then, of course, electric is faster. Electric, you can do faster speeds. And I think it would have been more economical in terms of
exactly, that's what you're saying.
Fuel consumption.
But then the question then is, if this is more advanced and then it comes at a lower cost, now the SGR, now the cost is inflated again, low advanced but a higher cost.
That is where you find there are also other vested interests. I don't want to discuss that much, but of course, between 250 and 400 billion, you expect there were other beneficiaries.
Definitely.
And I think corruption is a matter that we must confront.
Sure.
It has been there, it is still there. We must ask why sometimes we have to do projects at a higher cost for less benefit. I thought if they didn't do, they would have done, for example, a hybrid kind of an engines, where then it can use both electric power and maybe diesel propellants. Now they didn't do that. But the thing is that Uhuru left the railway where they said the middle of nowhere. They said the Western Belt was not economical and so on and so forth. And so it was terminated in a farm somewhere in Naivasha.
Where I'm told they wanted to, I don't know whether they made, to make this dry port.
A dry port at Naivasha.
Let me understand, how do you say that a railway line to the western part of the country is going to be economically ineffective, and then you tell me going to a dry port in Naivasha will be economically beneficial?
Remember, what you mean by having a dry port in Naivasha is that goods coming from Mombasa, they will be offloaded there, and then they are picked by trucks. Then you do trucking to Kisumu and other places. Personally, I think there must have been financial or commercial considerations, because doing the dry port, probably someone was looking at the activities around there and that ecosystem to be able to benefit, probably some industries being done there. But this was private land. Private land. It is terminating in a private land. I think it doesn't require rocket science. And I will not say whose land, but I will say it was terminating in some private land. But now, maybe leaving that a bit, Ruto is coming in to say, let us move this thing from Naivasha, so that goods coming all the way from Mombasa and from the other industries that will grow along the railway, because history has shown that development follows infrastructure. So there will be other value addition, places along the line.
Sure.
Let us take it to Kisumu and to Malaba. And now the beauty of it is that President Yoweri Museveni, whether you like him or not, that guy also is a thinker. He said he is doing his part of the railway from then Malaba all the way to Kampala and extend it to the South Sudan border and then to the border with is it Rwanda or Congo?
It should be Rwanda.
Rwanda. Now, what that means is that then you talked of African infrastructure. If this railway can then get all the way to Congo, it is very easy then to move it, and that was the vision that Raila had, to the Antarctic coast. So then there can be movement of goods, services, and people from the Atlantic to the hinterland of Africa, and therefore to Indian Ocean.
Beautiful.
Now that ecosystem, then you would have the minerals in Congo and other countries there, Kenya, Uganda, whatever, being able to be aggregated, then value added, you know, production taking place there, employing Africans and so on, and these goods can therefore be sold either within Africa, because we have the minerals themselves, but also we have the agricultural potential. So that instead of Chad, for example, importing sugar from Brazil, that sugar is grown in Congo, can probably another line can move northwards and you can transport it to Chad. You can do the same for other commodities that are needed. You can transport goods to the Congo from Mombasa easily at a cost-effective method and also time in good time.
Yeah, from where I stand, connecting Africa infrastructure-wise, it should be the mainstay of our economy, because then that means, as we said, the intra-trade will increase.
Yes.
So which then means, it tells me that what Kenya is doing is very much, well advised. Perhaps, is it only road infrastructure and or railway infrastructure or anything else? What other infrastructure can we be able to build in Africa that, like now, for example, this technology, the fiber optics, where does Kenya stand? Now,
Kenya is much more connected than most of Africa. Presently, they are saying, I think Kenya has a kind of a 70% plus connectivity, which is wonderful in terms of when you look at the averages of other countries. So I think we have opportunity, even as we do those programs, to be able therefore to integrate Africa more in terms of connectivity. Now, when you're doing this connectivity, and especially when you're moving to add value, doing the data centers, you need a lot of electricity. And that is where we need probably to have programs like what Kenya is doing. We want to do a nuclear power generation. Now, when you go to Congo, for example, they have a huge river with volumes of metric tons of water flow. Now, you remember Raila again, they had discussed an African project there, hydroelectric project there, and they were saying that that river has capacity, they were calling it the Great, is it the Great Hinga, something, a project, capacity to power Africa. Ethiopia has tried. They did the Grand Falls dam. I think so far the biggest probably in Africa.
Yeah, the biggest in Africa.
Now, we cannot grow our economies without power. And so the kind of project Ethiopia has done would have been followed by another one like the one at Congo, because Congo has the resource. And of course what we are doing like in Kenya, the geothermal and the hydro. So then we have enough power. No manufacturer will come to Africa and start their enterprises if they are not assured of sufficient and reliable power.
Exactly.
So then once you have the power, then you have the connectivity. Then you have the infrastructure. So that is the rail and the road. And then of course the aviation. Presently, they are moving from Kenya probably to go to some country in Africa. Sometimes you're going to Cairo, but you go to Dubai and then come to Cairo.
Look at that.
So we need to look for ways of reducing the bureaucracies, cutting on the red tapes that are there, improving our airports, and so on and so forth. Our airlines in Africa must be able to be the leaders in aviation when we are talking about aviation within Africa. But today we have the Emirates, the Qatar Airlines. These are the ones that are dominating. They don't have our interests, but as we know what our interest is. The Kenya Airways, the Ethiopian Airlines must become truly African airlines that are able to help us move people and the goods across Africa. The infrastructure also will open up tourism. It will open up agricultural lands.
Wow.
The Congo, the vastness of the Congo itself can feed the world.
I wish to talk about two things, but let's begin with this one of agriculture. No, agriculture has been the mainstay of economy, actually globally, but more so in Africa, Africa being arable to a large extent. Most of the problem is that when people farm, they produce. Now there is no infrastructure, the road connectivity to the markets, the access to the markets. A lot of farmers are having their products rotting. If that happens, how much impact will it affect the farmer if we have these road connectivities and intra-trade?
It would immediately be able to harness the potential of our hinterlands, economically speaking, because then when you have roads, you have the railways, what will follow is that you'll find aggregation centers, coolers and all those facilities, because then they are making economic sense. Someone can come invest in a cooler, for example, around Lake Victoria for fish. Someone can go and invest in an aggregation center for fruits if they are available in some place in Congo, because they know then they have a way then to move these products to the port and to the market. So what it will have is a huge effect in terms of the growth of our economies. Agriculture is mainstay. Europe developed principally out of agriculture through the agrarian revolution.
Agrarian revolution, yes.
So we need also to open up our hinterlands and do wheat, do cane, do maize, corn, do all these things, because the world needs these things. Even doing like coffee, of course tea. We have tea, we have coffee, but the problem is that we are not adding value.
That's exactly
so we take all these products, we take our avocados to China in their raw form, you get probably 10% of their value. So I think our leadership in Africa must think out of the box and say, we have this, if you need this, then come we invest together. And I think Africa Forward, the summit, explored some of those things that now we are not looking for it. We don't want to export all. We want you to come, partner with us, we do the value addition, then we can now take to the market.
Do you know from where I stand, actually, the only thing that will will pull Africa out of from the dogs is the value addition. And this is exactly what Aliko Dangote was alluding to. He said that what he's doing with his factories, the one he had proposed in Tanga and now in Mombasa, is all about value addition. If Africa can face the value addition direction, I'm sure we are going to alleviate the poverties.
You're very correct, and I will even dare to say this. Markets are about numbers.
Markets are about numbers.
Yes. Now, we look globally, the Chinese are like 1.4?
The 1.3, the almost
1.3 billion. The Americans are 400 million. You're looking at India is again about 1.3.
1.3 thereabout.
Africa is 1.2. 1.3. Africa has moved, I think, is now probably higher than that. Nigeria alone is over 200 million. Ethiopia, there are 80 million plus. We are talking of the East African community now as well, the extended one, we are talking of over 150 million people. So if then Africa can realize the potential we are sitting on, the kind of market, China grew fast by supplying the local market.
Exactly.
Knowing that we have the numbers, if we are doing a shoe factory,
No, you already have the market.
To provide shoes to 1.2 billion people, 1.3 billion people. That is a huge market. Now, Africa has not realized the kind of market we have. So we are buying cars from Europe, we are buying from Japan, we are buying from wherever. The logical thing would have been an integrated Africa, where then we tell Japanese manufacturers, we will not come for cars from Japan. Toyota, you want to sell cars to us? Come to Africa. We will invest in Nairobi, we will invest in Congo, and then from there we can sell to Africa. What does that do? Immediately, your raw materials that they will need to use, they will process from Africa. They will need iron, they will need steel, they will need uranium, they will need other cobalt, copper. All these things will be processed here. We sell to them here. They do the cars here. They will pay the taxes here. They will employ our own people.
Yes.
Skills will be transferred to our own people. And the cars will be sold here and exported. Now that is a better arrangement than us taking our foreign currency to Japan to import cars here that were made using labor from other places. Now that is the thinking, because any investor, if you talk of a market of an integrated market of 1.3 billion people, and then you tell them, come, we sit, they will come running.
James, you know, I'm hearing you talk and I'm wondering,
they'll come running.
What about these advisors that we have that advise our presidents? Can they have this kind of ideas? Because like, for example, as you're saying, if we galvanize our strength and bring our numbers together, we have a bargaining power.
We have a bargaining power.
We'll tell these people, you're not importing this, these are our terms.
Yeah.
And I think this is what exactly was happening in Africa Forward, you know, the conference.
That is the thinking.
Because when the African leaders come together and say, we are telling the French government, for example, even Europe, we are communicating to Europe through Macron, for example, they're saying this is our position.
Yes.
So once we have a united position, and those guys will have to dance their tune depending on what we are saying, our rhythm.
Yeah, we'll tell them we are not exporting our labor there. You need our cheap labor, then come here to Africa, establish your enterprises here. We will supply the raw materials here. We will do everything here, processing here. So the value add is in Africa. The value add is in Africa. So, and that is what will break the dependency syndrome that we see. We will be respected for who we are. Our minerals here are worthy so much. If today we told the Chinese, the Americans, the Europeans, we are not going to export our minerals raw. If you need our cobalt, then we process here. I'm telling you, they will come and do exactly that. But then we have not understood our value.
Why are we not doing that?
Because we are divided. Number one, we are divided. So each country goes on its own. So, you know, we have the historical divide and rule. You know what the Europeans did when they were dividing Africa? They sat somewhere in Europe, in a city called Davos, and they demarcated Africa, you know, into parts, not considering even this community is a homogeneous community. That's why you find some communities who are put in this country, another community, the Teso, a big portion in Tanzania, the other portion in Kenya, and so on and so forth.
Myron Kuria people.
The Kuria people, all these communities.
Most of Kurians are in Tanzania and some of us are in Kenya.
Because foreigners were doing this, dividing Africa in Europe. And they knew once we divide, then we can control. Now, I believe it is not in the interest of Europe and the rest of the imperial
almost now a century without realizing that unity.
I think when OAU became a talk shop, how can you have a conversation that benefits Africa when that the initial OAU, now it's the African Union, was funded by Europe?
I'm telling you.
So how can we discuss our issues when the enterprise, where we are meeting, we are funded by Europe? The current headquarters in Ethiopia of the African Union, they were built by the Chinese.
And some people were joking that they put in some ears there.
Yeah.
So whatever is being discussed is being...
It's dropped in Beijing. So I think for us to we start this conversation by weaning ourselves from the colonial influences and believing in ourselves. I believe the OAU became a stooge of the West and the East.
From the word go.
From the word go. Now the African Union must find space, its own space, so that the dependency on whether it is China, whether it is Europe, must be cut off. We have come of age. Since independence now, we are talking of 70 years. We shouldn't again be complaining about colonialism and what have you. I think a lot of the problems we're having in Africa today, they are our own making. We have had 70 years of experiment. We can now say this has not worked, this can work. We need to begin there. And then I think, Mwita, you look at the global architecture and the way it is done. For example, the UN Security Council, the membership, 3 of the members are from Europe. Look at the Europe's population. There is China, of course, and there is Russia. They are representing the East. Now, Russia is a country of about, I think again, about 250 million people. They have a seat at the UN Security Council. We don't begrudge that. China has a huge population, yes, it can represent Asia. But when you compare the population of Africa, 1.23 billion, we have not a single seat at the Security Council. You go to the international financial institutions, the IMF, the World Bank, again, Africa has no representation. It's called the World Bank, but controlled by the West. So the terms of lending, they are favorable to the West. They are punishing to the African countries. And so, is that
by design or by default?
I think it's by design, because they are, they are wired in such a way that the help we are getting, the support we are getting for the IMF, we will never ever be able to move us to a position of independence.
For example, this is a World Bank. Take the name World.
World.
Now, is Africa part of the world?
It is.
But then there's no representation.
There is no representation.
And then at some point we'll talk about issues pertaining to Africa.
They will come up with
without any representation.
The structural adjustment programs and come and tell us you have to sack so number of people, because they are doing it from Europe. They don't understand our situation here. They have, for example, pushed a lot of nations, Ghana included, to cut the social programs. Social programs that are helping the very poor be able to survive. And so what has it done? It has caused unrests in these countries where those social, adjustment programs and other physical programs prescribed by the West have been implemented. And so Africa must come and probably do their own bank, a bank for Africa, or demand representation where decisions are made. We are not of a lesser God. I believe Africa, we are educated. Africa, we have the resources. Yeah? What we are lacking, I think, is the quality of leadership at the top. And a time has come when Africa, we must deal with corruption as the greatest enemy to our own development.
How do you attain this quality of leadership at the top?
You see, we can start home because it is good to think globally but act locally. I see us, for example, people tending to vote their tribes people. The other day I was in a place and we were traveling in a public vehicle, and a debate arose about this or that leader, the other leader, and someone said, this time tunatoa fulani hata kama tutaingiza mbuzi ituongoze. So even we are getting a goat head. We are getting a goat head because it is of our tribe.
What kind of thinking is that?
Then you can imagine, how can we then function at the African level, the international level, with a goat's brain? So I think we must look at the quality of leadership. Now, and that is why I was saying, Africa needs presidents or leaders who can express our narrative, speak our voice at international fora. And one of the reasons why I have said Ruto is different, Cairo, I've seen him at the international stage. He was able to tell Trump, you know, the leader of the superpower, things that are not comfortable. He has spoken at the UN and talked of this transformation for the Bretton Woods institutions, the financial architecture. He has talked about those things. Until at some point people are saying he's the president of Africa. Now we need more of these voices that will not just say what the West wants to hear. We must express the uncomfortable things and actually push for them.
If I was to be given chance and to to advise, I think we need to group and regroup ourselves, strengthen ourselves first, then that should give us a voice. And we are talking about the unity, as we were referring to now. Maybe you come to this point where you mentioned that we don't have a representation in the security, the UN Security Council. How are our security issues taken care of? Because security is most important.
There is a lot of, I think it's a lopsided thing. You find that like now when there is an issue in some countries where the Westerners have a need or where they have an interest, they will move very fast to address it. But you find like the situation in the Sudan where so many people have died, nobody is intervening. They will only intervene where they are benefiting. So we need the representation there so that issues that are happening in Africa, for example, what is happening in the Sudan, what has happened in some Central African countries, South Sudan, we had those issues, Somalia, then we are able to deal with this from our own perspective, so that when we have an African on the table, then we are able to get African solutions.
Having said that,
African problems.
Having said that, African solutions to African problems. What about the AU? Because the AU then is supposed to also have like an arm that deals with security for the African nations. Why would I be a member of African Union when the AU is toothless, for example?
The EU is crippled financially first. So they are depending mainly on other countries, Western nations, to support their budget. And that is regrettable, really, because most of the EU member states are not paying their dues. And it is a terrible situation that way. Now, you look at this, intervention in Somalia, for example, was an African idea, but Africa could not fund it. So it was funded by Europe, again, the Westerners. So we have these interventions, but there was the idea of an African standby force. Now when you have that kind of a force, you need money. And if the countries are not paying, then you don't have the money. So we also need to find a way of revamping our own economies so that then we are able to sustain our own programs as Africa.
But you know, it's a common and not simple, but common wisdom that nobody will put their money where their interest is not.
Yes.
And if anybody puts their money anywhere, then somebody must be aware that they have an interest in that.
Yeah.
So then Africa, because of our interest, we must put our money where our interest is. Otherwise, if we don't control our system, somebody else will control it for us.
Sure.
And the result has not been good news to us, because we've seen neglect. People are neglecting us, and a lot of Africans are dying. Maybe let's switch it to another point. Why wouldn't Africa at this time have, like, let's say, for example, even at least a vehicle that we can say has been manufactured in Africa? I mean, 1.23 billion people. We don't have China, for example. They're manufacturing almost everything.
Yes, yes.
And you know, if an economy is not productive, then that economy cannot survive. Yeah. Why are we so much of a consuming economy?
You are asking a very, very significant question. Economies can be, triggered through agricultural investments in agriculture, but agriculture has a plateau point. You can only produce up to that point. But when you get to manufacturing, manufacturing is capacity for scaling up. Because even you do one car, it may be expensive to do one car, but once you get it right, then you can be able to scale up as per the demand. If then there is need for 100,000 cars, you just scale up and they do the 100,000 cars. And that is countries like Japan, they don't have a lot of natural resources. They have grown through innovation, manufacturing, and probably services. Now, Kenya and Africa need to get to that. I hear South Africa, they have done a car. I think it's a military APC. I don't know whether they have done anything else. Uganda, they tried recently. Kenya, we had the Kenya one. But also in Kenya, here they are manufacturing the Mobius. I think the Mobius is done in Kenya. I think what we need to do really is to invest deliberately in technology that can help us then be able to manufacture some of these things. And even before we do cars, Bwana Mwita, why do we have to import toothpicks, matchsticks? Why do we have to import
second-hand clothes
and the cups and plates? These are things we can do here. Some of these electrical gadgets, extension cables, bulbs, they can be done here. And that is what we are saying. We must win ourselves from that mentality that we are not able to do.
Why are we not doing them?
Our engineers are working in Europe to manufacture those things. A lot of Kenyans are working in China, in Japan. They're involved in the manufacture of those things. Now, we have the human resources. Why can't we then have the political will to push for these things to be done? We have our universities, universities that have been in existence for quite some time. The University of Nairobi, Jomo Kenyatta University, and other universities, what is their role in innovation? These are, in Europe, in America, they put a lot of money for R&D, and presently they say R&D and I, research, development, innovation.
Yeah.
So why are we not having this happening? Now, if Africa needs to grow, even our pharmaceutical industry, for example, why are we still buying a lot of medicines from India? Why can't we have local, indigenous medicine? Because we had also, our people had their own medicines from trees, from herbs. Where is the research that is going into this so that we can produce our own medicines? China, for example, a big proportion of their medicines are indigenous, homegrown, and they work for them. So what have we done to harness our own indigenous medical knowledge?
Wow.
So these are areas that we must think out of the box. And we must call bluff, you know, and tell our leaders, and I think they are listening. President Ruto, you have shown you can lead. You are daring. I think we need in your lifetime, or during your tenure, for you to come up with very bold programs, policies where Kenya can be a leader in pharmaceutical production, vaccine production, and probably even go further into other manufacturing sectors. As I think, Mwita, we have what it takes. We lack the will. We lack the courage. We lack we must get into this thing and believe in ourselves and bring the nation together and focus on things that in the next 20 years can change this country, can change Africa, and put us at par with other countries.
You know, we ought to have done that as early as yesterday, but as they say, there's always room for improvement. Because countries like Israel, they are known as innovation nations. And out of that innovation, you can see they're on top of the mark of the map of the world. Now, that being the case, you find that it's very painful. You find that the Kenyan African population, and especially the African youth, they are dying in the Atlantic Ocean, going to look for jobs elsewhere. If this issue is not arrested early, what will be the case tomorrow? Because if we don't produce jobs for our people, how will we expect other people to produce jobs for our people?
You see, our African youths now, they are getting educated, and it's a good thing. Like in Kenya, the literacy levels are very high. But then the economy is not growing at the same pace. We are not growing jobs at the same pace. And so a lot of these youths are going to look for jobs elsewhere. It is even worse in the Northern Africa, Central Africa, where now they have to use, these boats to also empower them in the digital space, so that they're able to come up with digital jobs, innovations, hubs that can grow, apps that can are applicable globally. And then they are able to make money, outsourcing business and all that.
I should appreciate the government of Ruto on this. They have what they call counter aggregation and integration projects.
Yes.
And if that goes as it's planned, I'm sure it's going to really help in what you are saying. Value addition chain, so that we don't produce tea and then we just export raw tea.
Sure.
As some nations produce cocoa, they produce these. But as we know, wealth is in the value addition. Great. Africa is rising, as we are saying, the Renaissance. Tell me about that. Why are we saying we are rising?
I think we have had some leaders in Africa who have thought out of the box. You have Kinadhambo Bekis of this world. We have had Kibaki, our own. We should also talk about him. We also have Kina Kagame of Rwanda, very pragmatic in thinking. In fact, since the genocide of the 90s up to now, he has propelled Rwanda. Now Rwanda is an economic powerhouse. They have moved. We have other thinkers across. We have President Kufuor, and so on and so forth. But I think when we look at Africa generally, there has been a lack of clarity on what leadership is all about. So that you have a sense that African leaders are getting to position for the sake of it, for the feel of power, raw power, for fame, for their own self-esteem. Sometimes those leaders have become more of a burden than leaders, because they are lording over the people, and then they force the people to support their very extravagant lifestyles. We have had presidents for life, presidents who have refused to go, even when the age actually tells you they are not functional.
Paul Biya is 90 years
90
now?
years and is still president.
I'm telling you.
And president for life. We have those. We have our own Amin Dadaz, you know. And so Africa has had a mixed bag of good and bad. And I think a time has come when then we decide what leadership we need in Africa. And is leadership merely occupation of office? Because if that was so, then anybody can be a leader. I think leadership must be about solutions that you can offer to the people.
Okay.
Leadership should be about ideas that you can bring on the table. Leadership must be about service to the people. So that then you are not leading a people who are dying of treatable diseases, and then you are calling yourself a leader. You are leading a nation where people cannot move from point A to point B because there are no roads.
And you want to refuse to come out of that position because you are calling yourself a leader.
You want them to adore you, to sing for you. You want them to pamper you. You have countries where the palace is an estate, you know. But in the same country, the roads in the city are impassable.
So this leader who are now fronting the Renaissance idea, what is it all about per se?
It is about appreciating that Africa, we have our history, but also agreeing that Africa, we can craft a better future. It is about assessing our relationships with others as a continent. So that then where the relationship is exploitative against us, then we correct the balance. It is about understanding the opportunities we have, the capacity we have.
And harnessing them.
Harnessing the resources of our people. Our people are our wealth. Instead of killing and fighting our people when they ask for services, we should use that potential they have to produce, to innovate. And we should allow diversity of voices so that then the president is not the custodian of knowledge. We should harness, and Africa needs to have think tanks. People who can think not the next election, but the next 50 years.
Next generation.
People who can come up with programs, policies, like our Vision 2030. These are things that cut through regimes, so that then the programs are not centered around the 5 years, the 7 years. You have a program that cuts across to 50 years. And so resources are marshaled along that plan. And that requires daring leadership. It requires clarity of thought. And I dare say, it requires a philosophy.
Do you think this Africa Renaissance is going to see the light of the day?
Yes and no. I think we have seen this development where regional blocks are coming, economic blocks are coming together. We are the ECOWAS, looks like it is breaking a bit, with the 4 or 5 nations coming out, Mali, Senegal, it is Mali, Senegal, and which is it, Chad, or several countries came out of the ECOWAS. And I think because of the internal dynamics and the relations within, we have the East African community, the expanded one, that now includes Congo, Rwanda.
But is East Africa, is it working?
I'm saying the idea itself. Somehow we see movement, we don't see results. But we are saying if these blocks, we have the SADC at the east, if these blocks could be, could gel better, then we have those economies working around some kind of federation, some kind of economic, unity, so that probably you have one currency, then trade is increasing. Then these blocks can now come and at the African level now be able to develop something that now works for the whole of Africa. I think to me that is possible, but nations must be able to look more Pan-African than looking inwards. So
when you say nations must be able to look more Pan-African, and then I'm reminded of the xenophobic killings
yes,
in South Africa.
yeah,
As we are talking, they are just on the apex.
yeah.
Why will you kill people just because these people have crossed the boundary that was set by some guys in Germany, in other places?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So then you say nations must look Pan-African. What is happening in South Africa is opposite.
I think the South African question is very unfortunate. It is sad, and it is retrogressive, because these are Africans who are assisted by fellow Africans to be able to get rid of apartheid, and now they are fighting fellow blacks. Now, where is the brotherhood of the African person? Now, these are questions we need to ask, and I think the leadership in South Africa has a huge job to be able to empower their own people, to be able to compete, because today we have a marketplace where you cannot just close up yourself.
That's it.
The world is a global village.
The global
now.
village.
And what they need to do is where there is need for inclusivity, interventions by government to give skills to their own people, to support those who are underprivileged, to be able to build enterprises. But I think South Africans, other than fearing, instead of fearing fellow Africans, they should ask, what are they doing that we can learn from them so that we can grow our economy? Because when you chase out these people who are coming in to work, to invest, and you are not able to fill their spaces, then what you are doing a disservice to your economy. So it's very unfortunate, and I think we must condemn it. South Africans must understand they are not an island. They will also go to other nations. They wouldn't want to be treated that way. So the leadership there must come firmly and tell their own people that fellow Africans are not the enemy.
You know, when you talk about that, I remember Kenya. Kenya has been has been housing refugees from all over.
Yeah.
Right now, you can see our brothers from Burundi and other countries. They are doing everything around here in Kenya, and they're doing it so peacefully.
Yeah.
And also, I've come to realize that by so doing, our economy is growing.
Yes, yes.
So I think that should be a narrative that must be changed. And so we have to think Pan-African, as you said.
Yes.
How about the minerals we have? Because you see, we have an enemy who is after what we have.
Yes.
And if you're not careful, the enemy will make sure that we fight every time. And as we are fighting, the enemy is scooping what we're having.
You see, when you talk of the question of the minerals that we have, the natural resources that we have, I'll say that even the parameters that are used to calculate economic growth and per capita, they are Western. The tools used are Western. The considerations they make actually exclude our natural resources.
Tell me about that.
And so they look at other economic activities. They don't look at what we hold. So that if then the true value of the wealth of Congo, for example, was to be assessed, Congo would be a superpower. But now because they are assessing based on other parameters, then they will say that Africa is a dark continent. It is
a poor continent.
It is a sick continent. You know, all those kind of, you can see the kind of image. The imaging is of a continent that cannot help itself. But I think now the true assessment of what we have, if we look at the Mlima Hill in Kenya, for example, it is being said that the wealth around that hill is about 4.1 trillion Kenya shillings. So that is huge. Now, you look at other minerals that we have, and then move to countries like Angola, Congo, Tanzania here. I think there's the second biggest producer of diamond. We are not talking of tanzanites. We're not talking of all these other minerals around. Now, the cobalt that we have is in Zambia, again in Congo, and I think Kenya, again we are discovering others. The mineral oil that we have in most of our countries here. So the actual wealth of Africa in terms of the natural resources we have is so huge. Now those resources are not helping us when they are underground. So Africa must come together and find ways of extracting those resources
and adding value.
Adding value without allowing a situation where conflicts arise out of the resources, and being careful that we are not exploited by the commercial interest of the West. Now, if we can then agree, these are the rules of engagement. You know, as I said another time, Africa is a beautiful girl that everybody wants to have. So it is the girl who sets the conditions. And this is the kind of man that will marry me.
And the price.
And the price. So sometimes we look like we are ready for anyone who comes anytime, how they come.
And actually desperately ready.
Desperately ready. That is an insult to us. I think as a people, we have the thinkers in this nation, in this continent. People who have made a mark elsewhere. Africa is not just a dark continent. It's about time. I am reminded of Professor Mazrui.
Ali Mazrui.
Yeah, the late Mazrui. These are thinkers. So people who could philosophize around our situation, you know, and be able to explain our tragedy as Africa, what needs to be done, you know, and
Ngugi wa Thiong'o.
Ngugi wa Thiong'o.
It's a good
Chinua Achebe. We have had the scientists, and they are still there, who have done great in the global stage. So I think we cannot say that all is lost. Action needs to be taken. Remember, we have also exported our best. Obama is our son. He has led America. There are others who have come from Africa, and they have played significant roles
in the international
stage. So all is not lost, but I think time is of essence.
Wonderful. We really need to pull up our socks and do it very quickly, because again, the issue is what we have, somebody is salivating for it, and if we don't move quickly, somebody is coming for it.
Sure.
And as we said, unity, the place of unity, that's where we meet. I want us to look into this. This is like now tourism in Kenya. And how can we be able to like improve tourism in Kenya so that we are able to rank somewhere in the world? Because I'm realizing that God was very gracious to us by giving us the wildlife, and it's quite a spectacle.
You see, you're right, Mwita. Yesterday I had a meeting with the director of Kenya Wildlife Conservancies Association.
Wonderful.
And these men told me that our conservancies across the country, they take up to 15% of our land. The national parks and reserves under KWS, they take up 8% of our land. In other words, about 22% of our land. 23% of our land mass is covered by conservation, where you have the wildlife, where you have all this. Now, Kenya has been and still is a very attractive ecosystem for tourists, and particularly because of our animals and the landscapes and the flora, the birds, you know, the mountains. We are blessed all the way from coast. Our beaches They are some of the best in fact, the Diani beach has been voted severally as the best
beach
in Africa, and I think one time globally. Now, when you look at all the riches, you know, the endowments God has given us from the coast all the way, you have every kind of ecological zone that you like to have, and then of course the wildlife. So I think we can maximize or optimize the benefits of tourism by, number one, improving our infrastructure again, accessibility to some of these circuits, because we have different offerings. And I give it to what the people in the Ministry of Tourism and Foreign Affairs they are doing, the Magical Kenya campaign. I think is a worthwhile thing, and they need to do more, opening up all these places, you know, so that then the accessibility, the facilities, that is the hotels, and of course the branding. How do we brand ourselves? How do we brand our offering? You know, that needs to be, you know, in countries like Morocco, you talk of Mauritius, you talk of Egypt. Egypt, for example, they have done the biggest library, I think, in the world, that now gives an offering where people can actually go and see the mummies, the mummifications of the pharaohs of Egypt, and other artifacts, and the history of Egypt, you know, is all stored there. So in Kenya also we need to learn how to be able to put together our narrative, so then when the tourists are coming, they are not just coming to see the wildlife, that is the catch, but then they can also interact with our culture.
Definitely.
They can interact with our history. Kenya is the home of runners. We have the best runners globally, and we must be proud of it.
Sure.
Do we have a museum for our marathoners, for example, our runners? We need to have a museum for them, where when these people come, they can visit the home of the global champions. We have the Turkana boy, the oldest discovered remains of humanity. Are we able to use Ruto, our president, the other day? I had him welcome visitors to Kenya, and he told them to welcome to the cradle of man, the home of man. How can we grow that narrative so that now men across the globe, including women, but gender sensitive, come back to visit home? You know, I think we have that offering that we can. I think Kenya can optimize gains from tourism, probably to make it the highest income generator for this nation.
One of the things I think we have to do is to tell our story.
Yes.
Let this story be not to be told by other people, because you see, if somebody tells you a story, they'll tell it from their understanding.
Sure.
And when they tell it from their eye, definitely they will not tell what is true.
Yes.
We should take over the reins of telling our story and ensure that the world knows us.
Yes.
Otherwise, Africa is rising, as we are saying. The Renaissance is up and moving.
Yeah.
And very soon, I'm sure. And we pray also, because this is a great continent.
Yeah.
I'm sure that very soon things will be different.
Sure.
Although Africa is not what it is. You know, outside there, people have a picture of what Africa is not. I wish really whoever hears about the poverties in Africa and you know, the misfortunes in Africa, I wish they would come and see that maybe half of what they had is not true.
There are even people who have come, for example, for the conferences like the one we have had, and we have had stories of those people who were having, you know, fear, phobia, coming to that dark continent. But once they come, they go back saying they thought they were in Europe.
Wow.
So I think, and that is why we need to encourage more of these kind of summits, because then when people come and move around, remember also, for example, Kenya has a very diverse cultural heritage. Different people, you see the Samburus, the Maasais, the Kikuyus, the Luos. So, and very welcoming people.
And very rich cultures.
Very rich cultures. You go to the coast, their music, you know, their foods, you know, foods of Kenya. You're talking of other practices, you know. And I think when other people come, that cross-cultural, you know, pollination enhances and enriches who we are as humanity. And this is what we should put out there, and we should not be ashamed of selling our culture. I have seen, for example, and other than for the fear of some guys picking this and commercializing for their own interest, I have seen, for example, the Masai brand. It has sold across the globe. I mean, you look at this, these are authentic, you know, indigenous Masai people in their community. They are protected, their ecosystems and so on. And so these are places people want to come and see the Manyatas, you know, and see how we have functioned as a people, how we have carried ourselves, you know, along. And I mean, we should not be ashamed of our culture.
God is wonderful that He made every person, every culture, every people differently. We need to learn about others every time we get the opportunity. Our politicians seem to be failing in leading us to actualizing some of these ideas we are saying. And sometimes I'm sure it's not because they don't know them, maybe the political will is not there. What can be the recourse? What do you think we can suggest communities are able to do so to come out of the woods?
One of the things that we must do quickly is come out of the Mtuwetu syndrome. Mtuwetu, where somebody rises up because they have money and they are auctioning the whole community for their own personal empowerment or political movement. So that then someone, you hear this language of what are you bringing to the table? So you're counting the numbers of your tribe and you are galvanizing them by whatever means, sometimes lying to them, coercing them, you know, lying, you know, dividing and what, causing hatred. Then you are going now to say, I have this number of people. So you are negotiating for power. So that then the commoditization of the voter, of the electorate, is a sorry thing. It's shameful. It is shameful. I mean, we are Kenyans, but today I find people, and I dare say this, and I pray that somebody is watching this, that it is retrogressive, it is shameful for somebody to gather around their tribes people. Another one, you tell the other one, in fact I had one telling another, go and gather your tribes people around so that you bring them on the table, then we can discuss. I mean, how do you turn your own people into a commodity in the marketplace?
And the people are celebrating that.
And the people are celebrating that. I think sometimes I see like the more we move forward, the more we are going backwards. Now, if we are going to retain our nationhood as a country, we must somehow appreciate that the tribal boundaries no longer become the matrix for political calculation. It is you to come and tell us what you are doing. Because then if that is the case, Mwita, what will happen to that Rendile person, the courier guy, who is a minority?
The
Ogiek, who probably has the best qualities of a leader. Merely because probably they are 1%. So we will be loaded over by the 30%, 50% because they joined with another 20%. And so they will always forever be in power.
You don't know the pain some of us are going through, like in Kuria. Kuria as a county, Migori as a county, it has got Luos, and Luos have got like 6 constituencies. And Kurias have only 2. Now, every time the race for governorship is raised, the leader is not judged on the qualities of what he can bring on table. We had one powerful man, Marwa Nelson.
Yes.
Who was a PS in Mombasa. Not PS, sorry, he was a police commissioner. Something like that.
RC.
RC. And everybody knows the kind of job he did over there.
I know him.
But try to tell him that he can stand in any position, like a governor position. They tell you how many votes the Koreans have.
What have you brought?
So every time it becoming a normality is like a law that is not pronounced, that Koreans will only play second fiddle. You only can give us deputy governors. And our only undoing is because of the numbers.
The numbers.
So much as you may have good leaders, you count them doomed because they don't have the numbers.
The question of numbers, I think, must be tampered a bit with by having qualities of leadership, looking at qualities of leadership. Personally, for example, there are men in this country and women, I think they would have made extremely good leaders at national level. I have in mind, for example, someone like Kivutha Kibwana.
Wonderful.
You look at that man and you see the qualities of a leader. He's a guy who could have led this nation. He is from the Kamba community. They are probably a minority. Would he stand a chance of being president when numbers is what counts? I don't think so. So we will get a person with lesser capability.
If you know what we're talking about, James, is look at our leaders that have been leading us. They've been revolving in just two tribes, seemingly because they have the largest numbers. And this thing, we got to condemn it, as we said. Let us look for quality. Qualities in a leader, not necessarily somebody who can. There's this guy, in my opinion, Raphael Tuju.
Yes,
who was a very good leader.
Extremely good.
But where is he? He's now in the woods.
He was kicked out of leadership because they said he was in the wrong party. So the party of the tribe, anybody in that party, that campaign of that party go to power.
Becomes right.
But now if you're in another party, so I think even as we mobilize, we must go beyond the tribe.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that is where I have a big problem with Rigathi Gachagua. I want to talk to him directly and to his people. And I know this is not very comfortable. But when you come to the capital city of Nairobi and you address people at Gikomba Market in Kikuyu, Kamukunji in Kikuyu, and then you are saying, my people. They are Luya business people, they are Luo business people,
oh yes,
Kikuyu business people.
These are Kenyans
they
now.
Are Meru business people, they are Coast business people. In the same marketplace, there are people from all communities. And then you come and address Kikuyu nation in Kikuyu, in the capital city. I think sometimes, Rigathi, you need to play back your words and sometimes also ask, is this what you need to do? And I want to dare say that at times, even so, when you're so desperate for leadership, cultivate a better image. You know, I know Rigathi is a leader, but I am saying you need advisors who can tell him, refine a bit of this. You can't go and say, Kikuyus or Mount Kenya, I come from the mountain, but no, we gave you votes 60% or 50%, and so we must get 60% resources. What of that Tana River community that have no road? They need a bridge to cross to the other side.
At the end of it, you find that the development is concentrating in one place.
Yes. And there are historical injustices. I'm telling you the truth. You have seen from independence, because of proximity to power, I will say that most of the resources were budgeted for projects around where power was. The other day we had the question of the national schools. and why students from communities in the periphery, smaller communities, should not be given many opportunities at our National Schools Alliance and so on. And Rigathi was arguing that they should also have their national schools. You have a point, they need to do that. That is what is the best that they need to improve on their schools. But where were the resources taken? The best of the resources. They were taken to the national schools. And these national schools happen to be in Central. And so denying...
They happen to be concentrated in one place.
Yes, yes, yes. Where were the first tarmac roads done?
You know, James, as we look at this, especially local leadership, we are looking at it in the prism of the African and also global perspective. And I would say that we need a leader that is globally minded.
Yes.
A leader with a global sight.
Yeah.
Because if we don't do that, there are gifts that we are going to be, you know, we are going to be leaving behind just because these people are not coming from... I'll give you an example of people, like now this current government. Since independence, we've only had an opportunity to have a minister once. If you remember Machage, who never lasted for long.
And it was so effective.
It was very effective. Very effective.
Very effective.
And like now in this government, the only person we have that we can say as a community now, which is very unfortunate, is a PS, and this is only one. And that's how far they can go, because again, what do they bring to the table? I think this is very terrible, and one of these days we're going to dedicate a whole program to talk about the marginalized communities and see how they can be able to get help. Otherwise, allow me to switch gears, and then as we get into the conclusion of this, now tell me, this is Kenya, and now we are no longer talking about Africa only. Let's look at Kenya in the lenses of the globe. China is manufacturing everything. They are so enterprising. And America is now realizing that China is taking their chunk. He's trying to woo everybody. Do you remember they called China for a meeting in Paris? And being the fact that it's America calling for this meeting, they are sure must have been pinching them somewhere. I guess. What will that? Where does that leave the Kenya in the global market?
I would say that again, I want to quote President Ruto. These people have been saying, you know, there is a time he said that China and Africa, I think it was in China, he was invited again. The guy is playing the big league. He invited by President Xi, and he said that China and Kenya are going to craft the new world order.
I like that. I like the psych.
They are going to lead the crafting of the new world order.
Wow.
That was great confidence from our president, but it ruffled some feathers. And you remember that there were sensitivities, and the American ambassador, some undersecretary came to Kenya to ask, hey, you guys, what is this you are doing?
Some ambassadors also resigned.
I think they were a bit uncomfortable with the president's comments, because then it's like you're going to partner with our enemies, China. But then in this conference, the Africa Forward Summit, again, Ruto spoke, and I like the way sometimes he has quotable quotes. He says, some are asking, are we looking east
or west?
Or west. He said, we are neither looking east nor west, we are looking forward.
Yes.
that was extremely philosophical. And when now you ask the question you're asking in terms of how we should position ourselves in the context of the changing dynamics, rising China, superpower America trying to control things, I think Ruto spoke right, that what really dictates the moves we make is our interests. So if those interests are met from the east, or from the west, or from the center, then that is what we are looking for.
Exactly.
We are looking for people to get employment. We are looking to manufacture. We are looking to do infrastructure. Now, where that interest is met, That is where we are looking. And I think that was a very apt response.
You know, Trump, when he came to power, he told everybody that is for the interest of Americans.
Yeah, and he said, MAGA, make America great again.
Exactly.
And you have seen his programs have been mainly centered on America. He is moving out of the international commitments and looking at America. So, okay, you default that a bit. It has its also, because a country cannot live by itself.
Sure.
But then the interest of a country must be what drives a leader's thinking.
Exactly. Wow. So thank you so much. It's been so eye-opening.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward for the next episode. And but perhaps before you sign out, I would want you to give just a message to Kenyans.
Yeah.
This opportune moment that is presenting itself.
Yeah.
Because I know after France, somebody could be warming to coming.
Yeah.
Whether they call us there or they come over, because as we said, it's a scramble for Africa. What will you advise Kenyans to position themselves? I want to see serious innovators becoming global from Kenya. I want to see our own, products and innovations hitting the global market.
Sure.
How will you want Kenyans to position themselves for this?
I think I'll mention two things. Number one is that our industry and the leaders in industry, and they have started doing this, they must start looking beyond the boundaries of Kenya.
Okay.
We have seen this with Safaricom. Right now they have invested in Ethiopia. They are moving to other jurisdictions. We have seen it with Equity. Equity has expanded to almost the whole of East and Central Africa. In fact, this financial year, a lot of their profits have come from those places. Now, I think we should also challenge those enterprises, the James Mwangis of this country, and the others, to even those who are doing, for example, cooking oils. We have this guy in Thika, I can't remember his name, I've forgotten. We have the Chandarias of this country. Chandaria, for example, has gone to even Asia. They manufacture in different places. Now, Equity can go to South Africa. They need to also look at, can they get to Asia or to Europe?
Or even to France.
Or even to France. So that then there is a feeling where then we are believing in ourselves and we are scaling up. The manufacturers that we have, can they think of, now you have the model that is working for you here, then can we get partnerships and then help to scale up so that then we can sell to the global market? Of course, that means improving quality, working on systems, processes, and technology, and marketing strategies. Those are the things that I think as Kenyans we need to really come and look at. But again, Mwita, look at also agricultural products. Something very symbolic happened during the Africa Forward Summit. When they were doing the toasting, President Ruto organized so that the toasting was done using Kenyan tea. The French use champagne and their wines. But now here he said, and Macron responded very well, he said, in this place, champagne is meeting with Kenyan tea. So the toasting was between the tea and the champagne. So two cultures coming together, two experiences coming together.
Wonderful.
Now this tea that they did the toasting with, how can we then work our way up to ensure that that tea is available in restaurants in France and the farmer in Kenya gets the same value for which it is sold there? Now, I think that is where we need to come, the place we want to come to. But I think Kenya again has what it takes. Kenya is a different brand by itself. Sometimes people come to Africa, they say they have come to Kenya. They think Africa is Kenya, and Kenya is Africa. And so I tend to think our geopolitical positioning, that is why the Americans have interest in us, the Indian Ocean. Security-wise, in terms of the logistics, we are a growing, burgeoning logistics hub. In terms of a financial center, here, someone can operate here and do all the transactions.
You have the fintech.
You have the fintech technology. We have the aviation, and we are improving on that. So and then we have the UN here. So Kenya really is, and again, remember we are at the equator.
Wow.
Is it that then the world is coming to the center? And I think Kenya is positioned to bring the world to the center.
The world is coming to the center. Our viewers, we are the equator, and all those in a mix. We are innovative, we are entrepreneurial. You know, the UN is here, and we have a very youthful population. We have a good land, an arable land for farming. Everything is in Kenya. We are so grateful that you have been watching. We've had James, and James is a very insightful man. And I'm very grateful for you. Please consider subscribing, consider liking and sharing this video. As always, we are going to be meeting again by God's grace. We wish you all the best. Thank you so much. Shalom. My name is Mwita. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank
Shalom.
you. Shalom.